If you've been on the internet, if you've been on YouTube, you've probably come across a PragerU video. If you've been briefly drawn into Freddy Krueger's nightmare realm, you might have seen a PragerU video. But what are they actually doing? Who's behind them? What issues are they pushing for? We turn now to the expert who has apparently watched like all of them. Parker Malloy, welcome back to the show. Have you watched all of them?
It's good to be here. Not all of them, but I've watched probably 150 to 200 videos of theirs. Whew, okay. It's a lot.
Okay, so look, it's obviously a right-wing media organization that is pushing for certain sorts of things. What are the important points that people need to know about PragerU?
Sure. So PragerU is they play a little fast and loose with the truth, should put it lightly. These videos, the idea is they're these 5-minute videos. They're extremely easily digestible. They have these really slick looking kind of cartoon graphics that go along with it. Well-known people narrate them, and the idea is basically to create content for conservatives to push back on liberal ideas, essentially. So you'll get a lot of anti-feminism, anti-LGBTQ stuff, anti-Muslim, climate denial stuff. Okay. My favorite little series that they sort of have is this kind of trio of videos, one from George Will, one from Kimberly Strassel, and one from David French, about why donor transparency laws are bad because it infringes on your freedom to know who spends money in politics.
Yeah, I can't imagine why they'd be biased around that. So I just want to clarify one quick thing. I have not watched 150 of their videos, but it is PragerU. So I'm correct in assuming that it's a university, right?
You would be incorrect in that assumption.
But it's in the name, Parker. I don't understand.
But it is right in the name. And they own the URL, PragerUniversity.com. But they are not an accredited university. However, Dennis Prager, who is the man behind the website, he had a segment on there where he argues what really is a university. Who's to say? Who's to say what counts as a real university? So
I think the accreditation board, I think, is who's to say.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think so, but yeah.
Okay, so here's what I want to get into. Now that you've watched so much of it and you've had a great write-up on Media Matters about it, this is a hard right organization. They're pushing for uniformly sort of semi-deranged right-wing positions, and yet they don't yet have the sort of aura of being that sort of organization. So how have they evaded that reputation?
Sure. I mean, I think a big part of it is that they have a very they hide behind this sort of veneer of respectability. They have Pulitzer Prize winners who will narrate their videos. They have Emmy winners. They have professors at places like Princeton or Yale or West Point, or if not professors, then faculty at these places. So they have this veneer of respectability. And what's kind of frustrating is that not all of their videos are terrible. There are some videos that are fine. There's the comedian Yakov Smirnoff. He did a video about why laughter is important in a relationship, and it's a fine video. Mm-hmm. There's another one about the Civil War. Was the Civil War about slavery? I went into that one expecting them to go, no, states' rights. But they actually came out just saying, no, straight up, it's about slavery. You can't make other arguments here, which was really interesting to me. But for all of those, and they have a lot of others that are just basic, like boilerplate self-help stuff, like Adam Carolla, Jordan Peterson, and NFL sideline reporter Michelle Tafoya. They all have videos that are essentially like, hey, do your best, work hard, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which isn't necessarily harmful on its own. However, when you go from that to what Jordan Peterson's next video is, which is a video called "Dangerous People Are Teaching Your Children" or something along those lines, about why professors are evil and colleges are indoctrination centers. it's kind of it's a shock to your system. So they
Yeah.
draw you in with these really anodyne, boring kind of videos, but they have a really hard right agenda, and it makes sense given that Dennis Prager is behind it.
Yeah, and look, that whole self-help thing, I mean, that's Jordan Peterson's thing in his books too. He gives sort of just regular self-help stuff and then transitions you into these crazy hard right things. It's like they seem to have acknowledged there are a lot of either legitimately broken men or men who consider themselves to be broken, and they think these are people who can be radicalized. There are other sorts of organizations around the world that do that too, but we don't have time to get into it. So what I'm curious about though is I've seen numbers of the advertising budget that's spent on PragerU, which is astronomical. I know how hard it is to make money purely off of views on YouTube, and so do we have any idea who is funding this? Where are they getting all this money?
Sure. Yes, they're essentially they're funded. Their startup funding rather came from the same people who fund the Daily Wire, or who funded them initially, who helped them get up and running. And so it's these two brothers who are involved in the fracking industry, which go figure that then they run a bunch of videos that are about why fossil fuels are so great, and why we don't have to worry about climate change. These sorts of things. So it's funded by billionaires, and it has a very obvious sort of agenda, and it's all tied together. That's why as the funding is the same between. A lot of the funding does overlap between places like the Daily Wire and Prager University. You see a lot of overlap on the guests. You have Ben Shapiro showing up in Prager videos where he talks about why Western civilization is so wonderful and awesome, and why intersectionality is bad. And then you have his other sort of co-hosts or other Daily Wire personalities popping up with other videos. The best is Matt Walsh, who is kind of just a ridiculous human being. He has a video about self-esteem where he just repeatedly says, "I have no self-esteem," and it's great. I highly recommend finding that one just because you get to hear him say, "I have no self-esteem" over and over.
Okay, well, I feel for him, and I think it's Mental Health Awareness Day, I think, right now. So certainly, Matt, we'll look into it. Get some help. Everybody deserves a little bit of help sometimes. Parker, you did great work. Everyone should go read your article, by the way, the sort of research that you did into PragerU. We really appreciate it, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this clip from the Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.